Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome, man. It is, what is it? January 9th, 2024. Wow, that's kind of crazy. January 9th. This is a 12 years after I was a member of a team that lost a national championship 21-0. 12 years today, we now welcome in a newly crowned national champion. And a good-looking one at that. My God. Like Aaron's good-looking, but the man in between us has more masculinity. That's Jake Butt right there. Let me check my mic settings right quick. Jake, thank you for joining us. Aaron, take it away.
Yeah, T-Bob, please fix the mics. Jake, how are we feeling today? I mean, are we exhausted? We look a little tired.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. Exhausted for sure. It's a long. I realize, you just get in it, you get in that battle rhythm, and it's like the pressure building towards the end of the season, and I'm, bouncing around, and it was worth it, man. But yes, I'm ready. We'll make our rounds. We'll hang out with you guys. We'll hang out with some of the friends in the media space, and then it's my bachelor party this weekend. So I had a lot riding on that game last night, man. All the boys were real hopeful that we could celebrate an extra special weekend, and thankfully Michigan pulled it home.
Bachelor party this weekend after a natty on Monday. Absolutely
dangerous, but we made it happen.
Oh my God, the vibes are impossibly high. And really, Jake, it's got to feel very validating because it was a national championship that I would describe as undisputed, right? Like clearly Michigan was the best team all year long.
Oh yeah, and you're exactly right, T-Bob. I mean, that game certainly had some drama to it, right? I mean, gosh, Michigan had how many opportunities? I mean, the way they opened the game, it's like they're gonna roll to a victory. And in hindsight, they kind of did, but they also didn't. There were so many opportunities in that game for them to just seize complete control, and it just kept hanging around. They just couldn't quite score. But Michigan's defense, man, lights out. Oh my gosh. What an absolute performance. It was seriously poetic for them to end the season winning the national title by playing defense and having a dominant run game.
Where were the nerves heading into the game? Because this new era of football, I think it was hard for people to comprehend of can a team that style of football match up with an elite quarterback and elite receivers? Because we've kind of seen like that model work for quite some time now. Like, where was your confidence level walking into the stadium last night?
I felt really at peace, and I wasn't all too nervous going into the game. And I felt real confident. The main thing is just when I was talking to the guys out here at Media Days with the Big Ten Network, is I was just confident that I felt they were going to play their best game. Like I just look into the eyes of Blake Corum, and I'm like, man, you will not be denied. I could just tell looking at Mikey Sainer still. Like, why would I ever doubt these guys? They've proven time and time again why no one should doubt them. And shouldn't doubt them, right? And then even Donovan Edwards, man, how about that guy? Like, all season we've even been talking about it. Like, man, Don, where's the Don at? And when you needed him most, he showed up. I mean, probably wasn't their best team game all year, but maybe their best defensive performance. Blake Corum, maybe his best game, maybe the best rushing performance. So, man, it was awesome.
No, in the end, while still technically Michigan does affirm the blue chip ratio because I think they're right at that 50% cutoff. This is still a championship team that feels like more of a team. I keep going back to this, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts than we've seen in a while. And it's all the elements. We called them yesterday. We said one word to describe Michigan. We said complete. There are no weaknesses, right? It was just a matter of could that defense hold up in face of the Washington offense. And they did that and then some. Because as you're alluding to, Jake, like even though it looked like Michigan was going to roll early on, the Washington defense did their job. If you would have told me that the Washington defense would have held Michigan to 27, I would have thought that was enough for Washington to win. And I know how do you interpret Michael Penix's play? Because we had some light debate on last night's reaction show as to was Penix off and he just didn't have that night, or what did Michigan force him to be off? Was there unforced errors or forced errors out of that Washington offense last night?
Yeah, it wasn't a little bit of both. It definitely wasn't his best game. That dude was in the injury tent. I mean, one of my biggest takeaways is, we talked about, hey, is Michigan going to be able to get pressure behind that Joe Moore Award offensive line? Dude, Penix was beat up. And I give him a lot of credit because, there were some shots of him kind of limping back to the locker room. He was in and out of the medical tent. I mean, he was beat up and took shots that he hadn't seen all year. And it just further confirmed the belief I had of how elite that Michigan defensive line is, particularly on the inside. But I mean, you think about it, man, they hit a double move down their sideline that looked like that was going to be a gut-wrenching play for Michigan fans and looked like Washington may make this game even more interesting. And it's a holding and it gets brought back, right? There was that 4th down earlier in the game where it's a blown coverage by Will Johnson. Roman wide open. Penix doesn't miss those throws. That one, right? So there's just these small little examples. As we say, football's a game of inches that if they bounce in Washington's favor, it's a different game. But I give more credit to Michigan's defense than I do to say Penix played a bad game.
Well, and I want to go to Michigan's offensive line. Like that was kind of the funny thing heading into the game was you had Washington, Joe Moore winning offensive line versus the previous back-to-back champs of that award. And I saw a video from Danny Cannell. I think Danny was at the game on the sideline pregame and watching the Michigan offensive linemen go through their warm-ups. They look like grown men. I mean, like 6'5", 6'6", 320, just absolute monsters. And they played like that. Like, did the Joe Moore committee give it to the wrong offensive line again this year?
No, they didn't give it to the wrong offensive line. I don't want to play those games. But here's the thing: do you think Michigan probably had that conversation in there?
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Right. We know how we use those things to our advantage. So that team is that offensive line led by Sharon Moore, and for them to have that performance without Zach Zinter, I mean, they're nameless, faceless, man. They're just one unit. It was a beautiful sight. Those holes early in the game, I mean, you could have driven a bus through those holes. And I was glad that the ball was in Donovan Edwards' hands, man, to show you he's got that top end elite speed.
Yeah, the craziest stat I saw, Jake, in route to Michigan, averaging 12 yards a carry for the first half. At one point, they had over 170 yards on the ground with 154 before contact. Before contact. Let's talk about Harbaugh. Obviously, this is a fascinating kind of culmination of a 9-year journey. He shows up at Michigan, a program down in the dumps, immediately turns it around, but then has some steps back, flirts with the playoffs, doesn't quite make it, then has the 2-4 2020 where it looks like everybody's ready to move on, but both parties bet on each other, stick with each other, and incremental improvements, right? I think it was like 12-2, 12-1, now 15-0. You played for Harbaugh. You know this man. Before we talk about anything for the future, what has been your personal experience with this coach and what does he mean to Michigan?
Hey, thank God the emotional fan isn't the one that makes the final decisions, man, right? Because if they're the narrative after that COVID year, a lot of Michigan fans wanted him gone. This is a great to reflect and say, remind yourself, because tough times will surely come at some point again in the future. Remind yourself, of this example. I'm just happy for him, man. It's undeniable. He's one of the best coaches, not just in college football, not just football in general, and all of sports, man. He's won everywhere he's been. The context of what he inherited, 2014, the year before he got here, was my sophomore year. We were 5-7. We were at home for Christmas. We didn't even make a bowl game. We're not talking about a national title or competing for. We were talking, we did not even make a bowl game. And he immediately turned us around to back-to-back 10-win seasons. And then how often do we see this? What ends up happening, it happened with Nebraska. It happened with Wisconsin, just to give two Big Ten examples. Teams where you're banging your head against the ceiling. And clearly for Coach Harbaugh, it's like, hey, can you get over the hump? Can you beat Ohio State? Can you win a conference title? Can you then win a national title? And that COVID year, they took a big step back. I mean, the Michigan State game, I remember watching that on TV, of course, eerie because there's no fans in the stands. And in Mel Tucker's first year, Michigan got ran off the field. And it was shocking and it was painful as an alum to watch. And there's the fork in the road where a lot of Michigan fans said, that's it. Time to move on. Time to start over. And for Jim, he almost took a trust fall. They entered that 2021 season unranked. It was Cade McNamara as their quarterback. They had a 0.1% chance of winning the conference title. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, yeah, he's good, but is he? How much of a difference maker can he be? And it was like literally like a rebound, man. He went younger with his staff. It was like a vertical climb, like a rocket ship from the beginning of that 2021 season to where we are now. And you just give a lot of credit for him, man. He's genuine. He's always the same guy every day of the week, man, no matter the situation. And talk about vindication, man. He went to the Super Bowl and lost, right? He's been there. That is such a painful experience. This was the one he wanted. Happy for him to get it done.
Real quick, Jake, because I know you have to go. We got to ask you, do you think he's gone? I'm sorry, Aaron, to jump in here. Do we think he's gone?
Gosh, I've wrestled with this man so much. I don't think anyone really knows inside the mind of Coach Harbaugh. But at this point, if I had to bet, it seems like he's leaving. And I just want to say thanks to Coach Harbaugh for what he did for me as a player. And thanks for if that is the case, thanks for what he did for the program. What he's done for my family, the joy we've got to watch his team compete. He deserves the right to do whatever's best for him. I thought Ward Manuel handled the press conferences phenomenally well. I mean, you can't handle it better than what Ward and President Santaono have. They've definitely give Jim every reason to come back. If he chooses to walk and go pursue an NFL career and try to win a Super Bowl, I'll be rooting for him there.
Who's next? Is it on staff if he does move on? Who's kind of your gut leaning towards?
It seems like because of what Sharon Moore has done this year, like that's an easy plug and play. What he did in that Ohio State game, like if you just woke up from a coma and you didn't know who was the head coach, you would have thought it was Coach Harbaugh, the decisions that got made there. I mean, I know this sounds crazy. If not Sharon Moore, I'd be looking at Kalen DeBoer. I mean, seriously, I would be looking at Kalen DeBoer. I mean, what he's done, I'd be, I think he's making like $4 or $5 million at Washington right now. I mean, you could give him a nice, healthy pay increase and feel good. It's a similar brand, so he'd be another name I'd watch out for.
Jake, thank you so much, man. I know you got a crazy busy day today. Where are you going on the bachelor party?
I'm going to North Carolina, man. I'm going to play paintball. I'm going to do a spell. So here's what it is. Thursday night, we're going to do a spelling bee. Friday morning, we're going to do paintball. Saturday, we're going to go for a hike, and then we're watching ball all day on Saturday. So good time.
Something about this feels misleading. I get it. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
We'll keep your secret. We'll keep your secret.
I agree. It's going to be. Don't worry. I would actually love to play paintball again. Honestly, I haven't played in fucking years.
It's smart to publicly say that. Just in case it's very smart.
I wanted to play paintball just because it's all my college roommates. And it's like, dude, there was nothing better than playing a football game and getting bruised up and being sore and like the adrenaline's wearing off and you can pour up a glass of bourbon sitting around the fire. So I will give you guys that. We'll get bruised up playing paintball and then we'll enjoy some bourbon. We are going to have a spelling bee, but there's going to be ramifications if you misspell a word. I'm sure you guys can assume what that is.
You got to be the only fucking bachelor party I've ever heard of having a pre-planned spelling bee. Are you like a good speller? I just want to see my dumb friends trying to spell words, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, GOODBYE to our good friend Jake Butt. We love you. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us, dude.
Thanks, guys.
Spelling bee. Is that what y'all did on your? Is that what y'all did on your bachelor party, Aaron?
I was not technically really allowed on a bachelor party for some activities that happened on a previous bachelor party that I went on with some buddies in New Orleans.
Wait. So you were not allowed to have your own bachelor party?
It wasn't that I wasn't allowed. I chose not after everything that happened years before.
Smart.
Was like I probably should just like not have a bachelor party. I took all my boys. We went golfing the day before. And then with a dinner.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this kind of goes on like what age are you having the bachelor party, right? I mean, early 20s, you're generally going to be pretty degenerate. Like my little brother's 30, right? And he's about to have his, and I think we're kind of doing the same thing, right? Hanging out at the lake, some fishing, cooking. We will not be waking up after a night in Mons Venus having emptied out the entirety of the money we've made in the world at that time and being very excited to go back that night, only to find when you opened your wallet that you somehow spent every single dollar that was in there and you don't remember a single thing.
A bowl trip to the Outback Bowl, sophomore year, maybe sophomore year. We went to Mons. And obviously I'm the host because I'm from Tampa. So I'm taking like all the boys out. We're going to Mons.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that was on that floor was incredible. The funny thing is, we all got like $800 for the trip.
The per diem. You all got 800 per diem?
Yeah, 800 bucks. But
what?
the guys thought that there was a significant amount of guys that thought that was like a nightly per diem, not like a whole trip per diem.
Oh,
so
no.
they'd go to like our head guys like, hey, I spent my $800 last night at Mons. I need another $800 tonight. They're like, dude, that was all you get for the trip, bud. Sorry about it.
Yeah. I mean, that was just like a rite of passage, was taking all the per diem you got at the beginning of bowl week and immediately going and spending it at a gentleman's club. I will never forget that one bachelor party in Tampa, though, because I woke up thinking, because again, I like really emptied out my bank account.
Damn.
And I woke up thinking like,
I fell in love.
Like, hell yeah. I've got so much money left over for tonight. It's going to be awesome. And I crack my wallet and it was like a cartoon where there's like dust that puffs out and spider webs are being spun. And there was not a single dollar. And unfortunately, I had no memory of what I even spent it on the night before. Here's the only weird thing about Tampa strip clubs. And it's a sign of the American hang up on the female nipple that I don't understand. If you show nipple, you can't buy alcohol at the establishment. But if you wear pasties, then you can. That's absurd. Like, that's so weird that we've developed as a society that we've ever reached that point. But whatever. It's neither here nor there.
They let you BYOB. They let you BYOB.
They do let you BYOB, which is kind of interesting and cool in its own right. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I obviously still enjoyed it as well. Again, it took me a long time to financially recover.
I remember the first time I went in high school and I got home.
Mons Venus in high school?
Yeah, we snuck in like
those are
16, 17.
Those are some deep waters to be swimming in, my friend. Yeah.
I remember I fell in love and my mom was like, well, if you just to make sure like she needs to stop her nightly job if you're going to fall in love with her. I'm like, that's
wait. We have to unpack this. You have such an honest and open dialogue with your mother that she knew.
I think she somehow found out
you had gone to Mons Venus and fallen in love with a dancer.
Yes.
No, I think that's actually really commendable. Like, that's like a super cool mom. That's a healthy mother-son relationship that is just so far outside of what I think the vast majority of kind of dialogues are between the two parties. Wow.
This was the beginning of my demise. She literally said, like, if you start seeing her, I hope she would stop her something in her nightly job.
Was it a mutual falling in love, or was this a classic?
No.
Okay, yeah,
this was a classic 16-year-old, 17-year-old.
Yeah,
and she was probably 20.
Wow,
Wow.
Greg Mom with the all caps. What says my what was in T-Bob voice? Okay, let me get to you. What? There you go. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. All right. I saw some comments earlier that I wanted to get to, basically from Miranda, and there was somebody else in here that I wanted to highlight, but just like, I don't know, man. Like Sarah P. Well, I agree with this too. Sarah P. Crocker says Jim Harbaugh's the Weird Al Yankovic of college football. I love it. I know. I love his kind of quirkiness as well. He's like a much more effective Les Miles. And it seems like his players maybe like him a bit more than Les's did back in the day. Is this true? Jewish moms are way cooler than regular moms. I feel like there is a little bit of that in pop culture. Yeah, I feel like there is a little bit of that, like a little more honest, a little more accepting. But not.
She's definitely accepting.
I'm not Jewish, so I don't know.
We put my mom through the ringer with some shit. So
yeah, I mean, you are a family of fuckboys, right?
Yeah, we are.
Like,
this is very true.
There's a lot of names to y'all's there's a lot of names on y'all's belt, I guess, if you will. Anyway,
back to football.
One thing that I don't like that I've run into today is, and I'm not as angry about it as I was last night when I went off the rails and got a bit triggered because I've been drinking bourbon, but I don't love how we treat national championships and whatnot in college football. It's the only sport where, like, immediately when the game ends, we're like, no, this team would have beat that team. And I don't know, they weren't good. Like, we just ignore everything that happens on the field. We don't do it in the NFL. We don't do it in baseball. And shit happens there too, right? Like,
no, because those
9-8
leagues, because there are set criteria for those leagues of you win your division, you're in, then you continue to win, you win a championship.
There's that criteria here.
No, it isn't. It is. There's a criteria, but it's up to a group of committee members to decide who gets to go and move on to the championship.
Yeah, and outside of FSU, who has reason to bitch? Why
Georgia? I'm just saying, like, Georgia has. If you ask the average Georgia fan, you went off on it last night. It's true. The average Georgia fan truly believes that Georgia was the best team in college football and would have won a championship if they had been in the playoffs.
But why? You lost to Alabama, who wasn't that good.
I'm with
in
you.
Atlanta.
I'm just saying the difference, but this is it, because there's this crazy world in which a 12-1 team or a 13-0 team can't compete for a championship. Where in Major League Baseball or the NFL
Michigan would have fucked up Georgia. Do you know what Michigan's defense would have done to Carson Beck and Lad Mahonky? Are you fucking kidding me? Yes.
You think Michigan's offense would have scored against Georgia?
Yes, absolutely, dude. 100%. They scored against Alabama when it mattered most. They went 80 yards. What are you talking about? Georgia was great because they're great compared to a regular team. Georgia was not some dominant force.
No, I get it. I'm 100%. Georgia was not consistent the entire year. Neither was Michigan for the second half of the season. Georgia was very consistent, injuries, everything else. But like they did not win the game that you and I both believe. Like, you win, I'm with you. You beat Alabama, you're in. The SEC championship game turned into, because of the way that the year looked and the way that other teams were playing and the teams are going to get in, it turned into essentially the first round of the playoffs. That's all it was. It was a first round playoff game. But that is the difference of why these conversations will continue to be had, is because there isn't this set criteria of, hey, if your win-loss record is in with the top 8 of your division or your conference, then you move on to the playoff. It is, hey, we're going to sit down as a committee and we're going to pick the 4 teams that we think are going to give us the best product on the field. That's the difference. That's why we have this post national championship debate of, oh, if Florida State was in, hell, I'm in a meeting right now with a Florida State buddy who's saying, that's some BS. Florida State could have won this game and that game. Those teams didn't even look good. Like, we definitely got shafted. Like,
I mean, I think FSU could have played.
I thought FSU could have easily played with all of them.
Yeah, I think FSU could have played with them. I think they could have played with Michigan just as well as Alabama did.
Yeah.
I just think it's so flawed. I mean, y'all lost to a 2-loss Alabama team that should have been a 3-loss Alabama team, and yet Georgia fans think that they were just the best. Like, that makes no sense to me. I don't know. Joseph Labarico says, go Blue. Feel bad for those kids in Washington. As a fan, I know what it's like to see the kids you love be disappointed. Yeah, man. We talked about it last night. It's why championship games are so awesome. It's why the John Williams score that they have made for the game is so poignant, is because it is truly the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. It's just and I've been on both sides of it. And it's why you compete, though, right? Like, you can't feel so good without the threat of feeling so bad.
Yep.
And if you talk to these Michigan players, one thing they keep going back to is the pain of last year, right? And how they were forged by that pain, by blowing it against TCU, not putting their best foot forward, and then having to deal with the consequences over the entirety of the offseason. And so, while you empathize and you hurt for the people who lose, you also have to recognize that without that pain, there can't be the extreme joy of those who win. And it's like everything else in life. It's the duality of man, and it's wonderful and beautiful and heartbreaking.
It's sweet
and awful,
it's
but
the
it's
sweetness
fantastic.
of it. It makes the winning even sweeter. I mean, for a team that had gotten to the very top of the mountain, or almost to the top of the mountain, the past 2 seasons have tasted the success of winning your conference and beating Ohio State, back-to-back years, and then kind of shitting the bed in the first round of the playoffs. Like, and that was kind of the statement this offseason. Like, those guys, Corum and a bunch of others on both sides of the football, like, hey, we're coming back for a mission.
Yeah,
we are coming back to win a championship, and implementing the periods. Like that was a big question you and I had last week too, of you implemented these off-season programs or periods during practice, the beat Ohio State, the beat Georgia, Alabama, beat SEC, essentially we'll call it that. But did you set your goals high enough? And I think that question was answered. That was a very focused team. That was a very determined team. And that was a team with a shitload of energy in the tank that knew what they came out to do.
Yeah.
And that was just kick everyone's ass, be the big bully. And they were that. They were the big bully that Alabama's been for a decade, that Georgia's been for the past couple of years, that Michigan had been striving to get to. That was their goal. We're going to build an NFL team that is going to bully the shit out of you. And then they finally reached that point this year.
And in their completeness, I do think that they were an especially bad matchup for Washington. Like, I also reject this notion that Washington would have lost to UGA or lost to Alabama or lost to whoever you want to say they would have. And we don't even need to play with the law of transitive sports properties. I just reject that because every other team had a weakness to be exploited. Michigan just had some things that were less good than others. And specifically when it came to how Michigan and Washington matched up, well, it didn't matter that Michigan doesn't necessarily have the most dangerous weapons because they didn't need them, because they could just dominate on the ground and take advantage in a more old school style. So I think this is, while it wasn't the most exciting game, it wasn't the worst, it wasn't the most exciting, certainly. I think this is a very satisfactory satisfactory.
It was a very satisfactory season. I would say I would lean more towards season than game. I think if you
not game. No. I know. I'm talking about the champion though. I'm talking about just like being
this is a great champion.
The unquestioned champion of college football. I think they were clearly the best team and are well to satisfactory. Why is this not making sense? Anyways, satisfying. Fuck. A very satisfying champion. I don't know why that wasn't working.
I don't know. I thought it was working just fine, but you did.
And you're right. The season was awesome. And
the season was
awesome. Were awesome.
I think the season was awesome. The semifinals were awesome. I think we had this fairy tale thought of this incredible matchup where, Michael Penix throws for 4 touchdowns and Blake Corum rushes for 3, and it's 34-34, and Penix has the football with a minute to go, and he drives it down the field and kicks a field goal, and this is the perfect fairy tale to end the Pac-12 and the ending of this 4-team playoff era. And what an incredible season. We had a team like Washington that won at the end. And we didn't get that. We got a game that I thought you eloquently said last night was teetering on the brink of turning into that, or turning into what I would somewhat consider somewhat of a blowout, and a really dominant game in which, Washington had the ball 13 times, only got 13 points. That is an absolute ass kicking.
Is that right?
Domination.
13 possessions.
13 possessions.
Dude,
13
Washington's
points.
defense did their job, man.
Yeah.
They gave them all that's crazy. They gave them all the opportunity, dude. The Michigan defense is the MVP to me. Then the whole defense, because you saw everybody show up. All the big names made plays. Johnson, Sanders, still everybody. It was well done.
And look at the time of possession. Washington won the time of possession. Who would have thought that would have happened? Washington, over 30 minutes of possession. It's pretty much even. 30-44 to 29-16.
So here's a question that I know how I feel on it. T-Bob's father says, hello, Dad. Was this the true 1 and 2 in Snap's eyes? Who else might have been better than Washington? I feel so firmly that this was the true 1 and 2 in the entire country. Again, I think that
we got to the game that should have happened. 100%.
Well, yes, and I just think that unfortunately, what do people always say when we're using boxing analogies to describe football? Styles make fight. Unfortunately, and this is using the benefit of hindsight, because I didn't think this going in. Unfortunately, again, I just think that Michigan is particularly well suited to countering Washington. Whereas other teams that you feel, or some would try to argue, are better than Washington. Let's
get the Georgia example for a second. Like, why was Michigan so good last night, and why was Michigan's defense so successful? Because we've talked about, like, the goals of how do you stop an offense like Washington? Can you play a little bit more zone? Can you play a little bit more 2-eye and still put pressure on Penix?
Yeah,
they did that last night. What other defensive line could do that against Penix, yet have the secondary to still even be able to slow down. Like Texas didn't have that.
No.
I don't know if Georgia.
I don't think Georgia has the
defensive
pass
line.
rush. I think they got the
No,
secondary.
Georgia
I don't think they have
rush.
a pass rush.
Yes, Georgia doesn't. Like everyone had one or the other.
And
Georgia
it's like Alabama might have had a defense that could have done better, but then the Alabama offense doesn't represent such a threat. So it's lower scoring on that side of the ball. So it was, it's just, it's complete. We said it yesterday. Complete. Michigan is so complete.
It is a complete defense. I wouldn't say it's a complete defense. I think it's a really good offense. So,
but that counts as complete, I think, in the context that I'm using it in. I'm not saying elite everywhere.
It is complete in the sense of it is a very complementary offense because they know that their defense is that good and is that suffocating that if we can eat up the clock and that defense is rested and energized, and the team is put into a situation where they're having to throw the football, that's when we can eat. I mean, it may not be explosive and it might be sexy, but it is the perfect complementary football to accomplish what they want to accomplish, and that's play great defense. Like that's how Harbaugh's built this team. Yeah. It's an NFL football team. It is an NFL football team.
I feel like you keep throwing rested out there with a little. Is there something behind that? You keep saying rested when it comes to the Michigan defense. What are you trying to say? In my best Drewski, what do you mean by that?
I'm not saying anything.
You're not saying
I think it's a goal. Like
you're not taking a schedule shot at all.
That is always a goal. I'm not taking a schedule shot at all.
Because I'm going to say,
was the Big Ten good this year? No,
it was not still, you say rested.
But Michigan, you could tell. But you and I have talked about like Michigan has looked like the best team this season for the majority of the season.
Yeah.
And then obviously they won the net championship, so they deserved it. I'm
just making sure because
I'm off the cheating, I'm off the schedule nonsense. No.
Yes,
no.
I agree. Also,
don't put words in my mouth.
I don't think you get. Well, I'm just making sure because that's maybe how it sounds to some of our listeners. So I'm just getting it out on the table. Yeah, I mean, because look, I think Michigan's beginning schedule is a fucking joke, obviously.
Yeah.
But the finish was strong. Like even Maryland's a pretty good team, right? Like, and so the finish down the stretch, the wins were strong, and they were back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of tend to agree with Greg. You can interpret it however you want, but that wasn't Penix choking. Greg Lamont says that was the best defense he's seen all year, and they shut him down. Yeah,
no,
I mean Penix could have played better.
It was more, once again, I said last night, Michigan won the game more so than Washington lost the game. Obviously, they kicked their ass, but that was far from the best we've seen Penix play football.
Also, Georgia fans with the schedule talk, just glass houses, houses, man. That's all I'm saying. Now, look, next year, everybody's got a good schedule, and it's awesome.
Was this the last undefeated team we'll see for quite some time? You think? I mean, you look at the Big Ten schedule, you look at the SEC schedules, then you look at it, going through a 12-team playoff. Like, when's the next? Like, not saying it's never going to happen again, but we've had two in the past 2 years, back-to-back seasons of undefeated national champs. Georgia last year, 15-0. Michigan undefeated this year. I think that is going to be a rarity. And this trophy in my face is just, I mean, I'm having to keep moving over. It's just not.
The only no, that looks fine. Stop
it. I'm kidding, PG. Sorry.
No, the only thing I would say is that college football does tend to have a dominant force more often than not. So while I understand the logic behind, is this the last undefeated team we'll see? Well, no, I think we all agree there will be another one. It's not like it'll never be again. Now, will it be more often? Like, what will happen more often? Yeah, I feel like it'll be the exception, not the rule, right? Maybe one in like 5 years, you get an undefeated team.
Well, it's not only just the scheduling too, but it's the parity in college football. I mean, what made this season so great?
Yeah,
I mean, we saw more parity and more teams have success because they're able to get the backups of the big boys to come to their universities. The big boys didn't have the depth that they're used to. And it got harder to win later on in the season when you started to lose some of that depth. So I think that's only going to continue like that. This is just the beginning of equality starting to shape the landscape of what college football looks like a little bit more.
Yeah, look, if you like if you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button. If you like the show, that'd be great. Let's get into more talk about next year right after you hear from our friends at DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, is bringing you an offer that'll make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet just $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. So, you're an Eagles fan? You think your boys are going to turn it around at playoff time? You can bet on them, okay? Or, probably not, because they probably won't. Either way, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code T-Bob. New customers bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code T-Bob, T-B-O-B. The crown is yours. Welcome back. Yeah, hit the like button, because anytime you get a lot of likes relative to your viewers, then the algorithmic gods smile upon you. All right, let's talk next year. Article dropped on ESPN. The odds on betting favorite, shout out DraftKings, to win the national championship next year, the Georgia Bulldogs. I think it was 17-4. Oh, I have it right here. 17-4. Alabama at 6-1. Ohio State 8-1. Michigan and Texas both at 9-1. Those are all your single-digit odds there. Right or wrong for UGA to be the betting favorite?
I mean, they should be up there in the conversation, obviously. I mean, there's some holes that need to be filled and figured out. But do they have the personnel? Is Kirby recruited to put together a championship team? Like, sure, 100%. And you return Carson Beck, you would anticipate year 2 as a starter to elevate himself to the reason why he came back. He views himself as a potential number 1 pick in the NFL draft next year. And I think a lot of us that know the quarterback position anticipate if he has a better season next year, that he will be in that conversation. So you have a top 5 NFL quarterback on your roster. You got good depth at all the positions on both sides of the football. Yeah, 100% they should be in the conversation. I think Michigan should also be in the conversation, but I think there's a couple question marks. Like, one,
who all is Michigan losing, though? I feel like they're losing a lot. I don't know that because I don't know the roster.
There's a lot of people thinking that JJ's leaving too, but JJ's not leaving.
No, I think JJ stays.
I think JJ stays.
But Sanders still's gone, right?
Yeah, Corum's gone. I mean, they're losing a decent amount, but I think they've done a great job of building on both sides of the football.
They're losing the corner who, for some reason, I keep wanting to call fucking Lane Johnson, even though it's not. I think I actually did it earlier in the show as well. So, yeah, I guess. And then if you lose Jim Harbaugh, if you lose Jim Harbaugh, I just can't. I can't give you the bit of the doubt to make you the favorite for the national championship. So Alabama. Yeah,
I said this the entire season. Like, Alabama, to me, this was their rebuilding year. They exceeded my expectations.
Oh, Will's coming back.
I thought this was a year that Alabama developed all that young talent. Let's not forget, Alabama had the number 1 recruiting class in the country a year ago. Like, they think set the record for highest ranked class of all time. Those guys, another year in. You get Jalen obviously more comfortable if he's going to be your guy next year.
Weird questions around Jalen right now, though, dude. The Alabama fans have turned on him hard.
I think that's a similar to what you just talked about with Jake Butt, where you don't let fans dictate what goes on in your program. I think Alabama next year is that's, to me, that was the year they're building towards. I think 2024 could be back to Nick Saban kind of flexing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because we keep talking about the democratization of college football and all this stuff, but in the end, the song kind of remains the same. I think you nailed it. Georgia should absolutely be the favorite. Alabama should be the second favorite. That's where it gets interesting. This is Ohio State 8-1. I don't see that. I mean, no quarterback. We keep talking about Ryan Day stuck.
Well, they got Will Howard. But Will Howard lost his job.
Did I miss something? Is Will Howard awesome? Why do people keep telling me, well, they got Will Howard?
He looks good.
What is a name in which we recognize? I don't know.
He's had some good moments, and now he's going to go to Ryan Day's school of quarterbacking.
I can't name a single Will Howard moment. But I don't know. Look, Ryan Day for a long time has been very good at developing quarterbacks. Michigan 9-1 again. Yes, the Harbaugh element though makes that weird. Texas 9-1. Yes. I like
Yours
that.
back.
Yeah.
Lose some receivers though, but like Texas is recruited well. They'll get some kids in the portal. They'll be fine. The two that are kind of, I don't know what their rankings are, but Oregon with their quarterback transfer,
I was about to say Oregon at 12-1 feels like my favorite kind of longer odds play here. If I just want to throw some shekels on trying to win the Natty.
And what's Ole Miss at?
14-1. I just have way more trust in, I don't know, something
Winning?
about, more of like how it's built. I still think Ole Miss, I think they're going to be awesome. I think they'll make the 12-team playoff. I think they should. I think that should be the expectation. I still struggle. I mean, can you put together a group of mercenaries?
He's done it.
One win at the highest level, though, especially after what we just saw out of Michigan. That was a team forged over years and built with culture and everybody buying in. Can you microwave that in one off season?
I think we're also getting the further
and you lost Quinshon Judkins.
I know. I think the further along you get into this new era of college football, I think the easier it is for kids in the locker room to understand what the expectations are when you go somewhere new. Like this is like, for those who have played in the NFL, like there's this understanding of this, like this, essentially this onboarding process of you're a free agent, you go to a new team, you get introduced, you jump right in, you get the playbook, you meet a couple of the leaders, and you're just essentially ingrained into that system, and it's go time.
Yeah. The
more that college football becomes like this minor league for the NFL, the more times these guys realize like this isn't taboo. This isn't weird that, we have 15, 20 new guys on our roster that aren't, true freshmen coming out of high school, but they're guys that are from the transfer portal that have come from different, like these kids now some of these guys have only known the transfer portal.
But the key difference is generally in those NFL situations, you've maybe had a couple players that have been there 5, 6
years.
You're
still going to have that guy. Look at Ole Miss. You're going to have a third-year starting quarterback in Jackson Dart.
Yeah, it is all shorter timelines though. But I feel you. I feel you. Whipmaster Hart, hold on a minute. Did T-Bob just try to pick UJ to return to the throne? Look, I think if we're just playing the odds, yes. This was Beck's first year. That was my big doubt. Beck's first year, and he proved a lot to me. And I think he'll grow anyway. B Bean says no love for LSU. I think LSU's interesting. I love the Blake Baker hire. They got a ton of positive momentum. Garrett Nussmeier's that guy. They just feel a little less complete than a lot of the teams they name. Like I think LSU's going to be on the edge of making that 12-team playoff. And we'll see if they can push through or not. J Frog, thank you for the $5 super chat. All right. We got to go here in a minute. So Aaron, give me your Final Four. Who do you think makes it Final Four next season? Way too early.
Way too early. There's a Final 12 next year, by the way. But who ends up making it to the last round before the championship?
Okay. You know what? That's better. Let's pick 12 fucking teams that are going to make
what
it.
they're going to do next year.
That'll be such good audio. Let's sit here and argue whether or not Clemson
I was just making sure
Oklahoma is going to be the top.
I was just going to make sure that you knew that we were going to a 12-team playoff this year. Just making sure we're all on the same page here. That's all.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to be misconstrued.
4 teams. Yeah. Georgia, Bama, Oregon. God, I feel like I'm picking it's all SEC and Big Ten.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ole Miss.
So but see, it feels a little unrealistic for 3 teams from the SEC to all not meet up with one another in the playoff, right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to do this, I kind of want to cheat a little bit, and I want to say 2 of the 3 out of UGA, Alabama, Texas. One probably eliminates the other along the way, and then I'll put Oregon in. So I'm at 3 teams.
So who are the 3 though? Georgia, Alabama, Oregon?
Georgia, Alabama, and Texas. I have in a 3-team grouping. 2 of those 3, any combination of the 2.
You have to fucking pick.
No, I just did it.
I need you to pick 2.
Did it. It's my show. Yeah, it's my show.
Is stupid. I'm going to pick 4 teams, and any combination of these 4 are going to get it. No, I'm not letting you do that.
Shit. Fine. Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, and
all right, so we have 3. We have 3 similar ones. Penn State, baby.
No,
Penn State. Come on, do it.
No, I kind of feel Michigan. I'm kind of feeling Michigan. But then what about Will Howard? Well, I don't know. No.
Quinshon too. Don't forget Quinshon's going to Ohio State.
Oh, I didn't actually know that. Okay, that's pretty beast.
Yeah.
No, I'll go Michigan. I'll go Michigan as my fourth. Why not? They've lost one game in 2 years. Stick with them. All right. Thank you so much for today's show. Please hit the like button, y'all. Hey, we didn't even mention it yet, but 13K. The goal was at first 10 by the Natty. Then it was 12.5. Then it was 13. And the partners came through. Thank you so much for pushing us 13K. Thank you for being a part of this journey. We're not stopping or anything. We're going throughout the offseason, obviously, and it's going to be shenanigans. We got video game plans. It's going to be great. But we are wrapping up the season. And as we said last night, it's been so much fun with y'all. It's the most fun thing that we do every day. So huge thank you to Pat Gunther, Danny Cardenas, Chris Tran, Ryan Brumley, Christian Hunter, Adam Gracia, the homies on the Snaps team that make this all happen. And yeah, chat saying that Aaron has to do the throw off with Brooks Austin. That Brooks tweet's been making the rounds again, but whatever. All right. We love you. Thank you so much. And we will see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Snaps.